I'm going big or I'm going home. Join me to create a classic urn. So welcome back to today's tutorial. I'm going to be filling this gorgeous metallic urn full of beautiful flowers, and I'm going to be using wire netting. So what I'm going to do first is create a lower section in my urn to hold any of the longer stems, and then another section at the top to hold my shorter stems. It could be one whole piece, but I happen to have two shorter pieces. It's the plastic coated chicken wire, so it's much better for the flowers. And then I'm going to take some florist tape through and around the handle so that it doesn't unravel, over the top and back through the handle on the opposite side. So you can see it's really securely attached, and I know it's not going to spring out or fall apart halfway through. So mechanics, really important. Make sure it's firm and it's solid. And if you're not used to working with wire netting, you need to be a little bit patient, because you've got several layers of the chicken wire to push your flower stems through, and it doesn't always go into the position that you went first time. You don't get as much control with the wire netting as you do with floral foam. And what I'm going to start by doing is creating a little bit of an outline with some foliage. Now, what I'm not going to worry too much about, let's put some water in first. What I'm not going to worry about too much is creating an outline shape. I'm going to use the material as it's naturally formed to create a little bit of an outline. Now, some of my beautiful ivy is a little damaged, so I'm going to remove any of the pieces that are marked, and I'm going to use the taller pieces or the longer pieces up higher and the shorter pieces towards the front. That piece isn't going to work particularly well because there's not enough stem at the bottom to go through the chicken wire. That would be brilliant in foam, but I need to have a longer stem, clear of any thorns or leaves, to get down into my base. And I'm working using all of the space on the top of my container. What I don't want to do is place everything towards the front. If you think of the front of the arrangement being the front section in front of that floral tape, if I kept adding everything into this position here, my design is going to tip forward because it's going to be too heavy. I need to make sure that I've used all parts. Plenty of weight is towards the back and plenty of material is added in all different directions. I'm going to keep building up first of all with just greenery. This one you can see is growing to the right, so that's going to sit much better in the right hand side of my arrangement. And just spend a little bit of time just working out where the different pieces of material are going to sit. Now, I don't have a great deal of tall foliage today, so what I'm going to do is make this arrangement a little squatter and fuller at the base rather than tall like a triangle. My tallest foliage that I have is the amazing eucalyptus, but the top foliage on the eucalyptus is fairly new growth, and I'm a little concerned that these smaller pieces aren't going to hold up in the arrangement. So I'm just going to get rid of a few of the top pieces. You can see the new growth because it's a different colour. It's a really light greenish grey, whereas the older foliage on the bottom is that traditional beautiful coloured eucalyptus. Now, I don't want to go with a point at the top. I don't want to make this like a triangle. I'm going to keep working in my different foliages, and the advantage, if you can put foliage in your arrangement to start, is that it almost acts a little bit like a cushion to hold your materials into place. We need to get into the middle, we need to come to the front, the back, the left, the right, and try and compact as much greenery in there as we can to provide a little bit of a support system. I've got a couple of trails of ivy which I'll put in towards the end, but if we look from overhead, I've pretty much covered my wire netting and I've got a really good base structure. Now obviously if my container was bigger, I could go bigger again with my floral design, but this size is going to suit my container. And what I'm going to do next, I'm going to slide over here a little bit first. What I'm going to do with my flowers is I'm going to put them in groups in the arrangement rather than spread them out in that really traditional manner. I've got a couple of the white nerines that I've used in a previous arrangement that are cut quite short. So I'm going to start with these towards the front, making sure that I'm pushing them down fairly low into the wire netting so they're going to reach the water at the bottom. It's no good creating a fantastic arrangement. So a little bit of a cluster of nerines on one side, and then I'm going to go a bit higher towards the opposite side to bring in the same colour and texture, but on the opposite side of my urn. Now if I was arranging this in floral foam, I would have more control over the placements of flowers. I would be able to make the design taller and wider because I would have the addition of that floral foam in the middle to raise the height. But as it is now, it's a more sustainable option. I don't need to worry about the single-use plastic. And I've got that more contemporary feel to the arrangement because I've grouped the materials together. It's a style that's really quite fashionable at the moment. I've just got some 3 darker pink hydrangeas. I've already cut these and I'm going to place them towards the bottom. This is going to give me some weight at the bottom. It's going to draw your eye into the center of the design and it's going to give a real heavy balance of color towards the bottom. Really quite traditional to use hydrangeas in a design like this. And I'm just going to group them together in that blocked formation, really repeating what I've done on the opposite side. And then next I'm going to use a spray rose. Isn't that just delightful? These are a little longer, so these will give me the ability to raise the height up slightly at the back. I'm not worried if the left and right side of my arrangement are matching in size or colour or shape, but I will work on evenly balancing off the colour. So if I've got pink on this side with my spray rose, then I'm going to use pink somewhere on the opposite side, maybe a little bit lower down, and just tucked by the side of these beautiful hydrangeas. Now there is going to be a lot of flowers in this design, so it's quite an opulent one. Maybe not your average design for your home flower arranger, but if you're training to be a florist, this is a really great style. Let's just get that one back in. This is really popular at the moment for weddings. We're using it a lot to create that really full look for designs that are down the aisle, on either side of the ceremony table, or on plinths for the ceremony room. What you've got to remember is that the angle of my container is quite straight. I won't be able to come out in this position unless I have material that's naturally curved. And the benefit of using more garden flowers for this type of design is good in the summer months, because those flowers tend to have a little bit more flexibility and they tend to flow and cascade a little bit over the side. But hopefully I'll be able to achieve that with some trailing ivy towards the end. I'm just going to make one of these smaller because I've ended up that they're all on a similar length and you can just see the stems and not so much of the lovely head on the top. So that's 3 materials so far: hydrangeas, the gorgeous spray rose, and the beautiful white nerine. Then I'm going to go with this amazing rose. Look at that, isn't it just fantastic? Some of these have already opened up to give me that lovely garden look where you can see the stamens and the seed head in the middle. This rose is supposed to look like this. This is its natural habit, to open fully. Again, it's a really popular rose. They're very fashionable at the moment in this type of design. This one I think is called Country Candy, but I will confirm it by putting the name on the screen. And I'm going to do a similar sort of style. The stems are short. I didn't buy these roses with a plan to do an urn arrangement. I bought them to do some short arrangements for some weddings. So they're a little shorter than maybe a rose I would normally use for this type of design, but it's going to work really well, clustered together to give me that real opulent look. Those ones are positioned closer to the front, and then I'm going to add another group onto the opposite side. I'm just going to cut 3 stems, all to a similar length, so I can pop them in the opposite position. Now there is a bit of a gap here in the centre. I'm either going to exaggerate that and make the design more crescent shaped or V-shaped possibly, or I'm going to fill it in with a white chincherinchi. I'm going to step back in a minute and have a look at how I think it's going to work best. I think one of the benefits of working with wire netting is that you can sometimes remove the flowers and reposition them if you don't like the first placement. If you've made sure that all your thorns and your leaves are removed off your roses, normally you can pull them out and reposition them. But the fuller the design gets, the more difficult it gets for you to feed your materials through. I just took a step back and decided that I'm going to leave it as more of an upside down crescent, so an inverted crescent. So what I'm now going to do is use these beautiful branches. Now this has come off the forsythia. Normally it has a lovely yellow flower on it in the spring and then foliage through the rest of the year. But the foliage has died back, and I'm going to make use of these amazing twigs, and it's really going to extend the length out on either side, or should I say the width. It's going to extend the width out on either side, and because these are dried, I haven't got to worry about getting them right into the bottom of the container to where the water is. I can rest them on the outer level of the container. Now I'm going to introduce some orangey red. You might think it's a strange colour combination to add in with pink. You might not have thought to mix the colour combination together, but an orange and a pink works really well, and it's going to give me that much wilder look that I'm trying to create. This one needs to be fed down nice and deep into the container. It's going to find its own position in the arrangement. And because I've got those very solid blocks of flower colour and flower varieties, this is now going to really open up the arrangement and take it to the next level. You really do need to have access to locally grown foliage or be able to forage for designs like this. You don't often get buried material like this from the florist supplies. You can get buried material, I probably didn't word that very well, but materials that are a little bit wilder and don't have that perfect straight stem are a little difficult to buy from the florist supplies. But just by adding them in the front, the sides and the back, we've really extended the design up, and I've made it less formal than some of the designs we might have seen on the channel before. I've just separated off the 3 roses that are in that position there because they'd almost been forced quite close together, and I'm going to add in a little bit more of this beautiful cotoneaster. If you're in an area where you can forage for materials, then the autumn is a lovely time for berries and beautiful naked branches that really give a lot of texture to a floral design. And then I'm going to finish with some trails of ivy that are probably going to work better on the sides of the design than draping down over the front, purely because of the shape of them. So if you've not arranged in wire netting before, you can't angle flowers and foliages in a position that they don't want to go. If they don't grow trailing downwards, you're not going to be able to get them in your arrangement trailing downwards. It's not like when you're working with floral foam and you can position them at an angle so that they trail downwards. You've got to be quite selective with what you're buying or what you're picking if you're out foraging, so that you choose materials that drape forward. So I've got 2 lovely pieces on one side. Let's hope we can find something similar for the opposite side of the arrangement. It's a little bit tangled, but we can work with that. So many of the designs that I do here on the channel form more of a set pattern, and they tend to be aimed at beginners. I think sometimes when you're a beginner, if you've got a set of instructions to follow, it's a little bit easier. And what I've done differently in this arrangement to maybe what I've done in others is that I've grouped the flowers together for emphasis. By grouping the flowers together, we get that vintage appearance, but a more trendy look that's currently very fashionable in floral design. I'm not looking for the left and the right side to match. I'm looking for the flowers to be grouped together to create emphasis. and that real dramatic look. So what do we think? Do we enjoy that style of arranging? Is it something you would have a little go at home? I know there's a lot of flowers in here, so this would be a real treat for some of you home arrangers, but it's a great one to do for your local church. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, add a comment in the box below, and let me know if this is something you would do at home, and let me know where you're watching from, because I really like to know what part of the world you're from. Thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.